So if everybody's ready to proceed, then please, we'll go through our consent agreements.
Let me make.
Oh, thanks very kindly. So we'll go through our consent agreement. Yeah, we'll go through our consent agreements, please. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed consent agreement with ASNMD?
This conference will now be recorded.
I'm sorry, can I confirm, is the live stream going now? Can I confirm that? Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Just like have
Thanks very kindly, everybody. What's that?
it's kind of like having the nuclear codes. Wait.
Great. Okay, everybody, we'll go through the consent agreements now, please. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed consent agreement with ASNMD? Motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron?
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Sohn?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed Step 1 consent agreement with BABMD? Motion?
So moved.
Second,
Dr.
Dr.
Bechtel,
Johnson.
thanks. Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron?
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Sohn?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with JDGLMT? Motion?
So moved, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Mr. Jackson, thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron?
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Sohn?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender retirement with JMTMD? Motion?
So moved. Moved.
Ms. Montgomery, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron?
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Sohn?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Abstain.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed Step 1 consent agreement with MDCRCP? Motion?
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel, thanks. Is there a second?
Second, Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Johnson, I think. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron?
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Soin,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with PEKMD? Motion?
Dr. Bechtel, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Dr. Johnson.
Thanks very kindly. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Soin,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender retirement with RWAMD? Motion?
Move Giacalone.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Second.
Ms. Montgomery, thank you so much. Roll call, please, Dr. Rothermel. Thank you very kindly. Roll call, please, Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Soin,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, thanks very kindly. Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed
Bechtel, I
permanent
think
surrender with
you need to
SBM?
abstain. RWA,
Yes, that's correct. Dr. Bechtel should abstain.
Okay, abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you for touching that. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with SBLMD? Motion?
So moved. Dr. Bechtel.
Dr. Bechtel, thanks. Is there a second?
Second, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Soin,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson, Dr. Johnson? Okay, Mr. Ganadakis? Hello, can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
I believe Mr.
I'll move on to. Okay. Ms. Montgomery? Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Thank you. Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey,
Thank you. And
Benton,
myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes.
Michael, Benton, I don't think my.
yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Ganadakis can
Ganadakis
hear me.
can't hear.
Now I can. You guys just came back. Thank you. But I voted yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with PWCMD? Motion?
So moved, Dr. Johnson.
Second.
Thank you. Is there a second? Dr. Bechtel, thank you. Roll call. Thank you. Dr. Rotherwell,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sowen,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Vanadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, Ms. Montgomery, Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thanks, everybody. Ms. Marshall, Chief Enforcement Attorney, will now present the proposed
Dr.
citations to the board.
Did you get my vote?
Yes, Mayor Montgomery, I indicated from your video, I took that as a yes vote, although your sound was not coming through. Seems to be okay now.
All right, we have 5 proposed citations for the board's consideration today. The first is to be issued to an MT, and it is based on a misdemeanor conviction for sexual imposition. Our second cite is to be issued to an MD, and it is based on a voluntary surrender of his DEA certificate. Our third citation is to be issued to a respiratory care professional who was convicted of child pornography. Our fourth citation is to be issued to an MD. It is based on a recent admission during a board investigation of sexual misconduct with a patient. Our last citation was added yesterday. This is a summary suspension. It's based on the doctor's failure to go to a board-ordered neurologic exam a few days ago on October 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citations numbered 5, a summary suspension based upon presumption of an admission of inability to practice? Motion, please.
Move Giacalone.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second, Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Johnson, thanks so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sowen,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Vanadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, that's a yes. Okay. Thank you kindly. Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. We will be considering citation numbers 2 and 4 separately, so Dr. Bechtel may abstain or vote appropriately. Would any board member like to consider any other citation separately? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citations numbered 1 and 3? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thanks very kindly. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sowen,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Vanadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, sorry, Ms. Montgomery, Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citations numbered 2 and 4? Motion, please.
So moved, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second Giacalone.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sullivan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, Dr. Pardo,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Ms. Stephanie Luca, Executive Director, will now present the operations report. If you'd be so kind, Stephanie.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Schottenstein. I'd like to start with our human resources report. We are in the process of hiring an investigator for our Northeast Ohio region. So we'll be adding an investigator in our Cleveland area. It's a much needed resource for us. It is our area of heavy licensee concentration. So we have a lot of licensees up there. And that position has been vacant since March. So that will be nice to have that role filled. Final interviews, I believe, were conducted last week, and we'll be able to share more about that hire next month. Additionally, I'd like to take a moment to publicly thank Tessie Pollock. Tessie will be leaving us this Friday as our Chief of Communications, and she will be moving on to the Ohio Department of Aging as their Chief of Communications. It's obviously an exciting role for her. She will have a lot to offer the Department of Aging, given her public health background and given her great media experience and just great policy mind in general. So our loss is certainly the state's gain. And she'll serve a very important role there with their senior team. Obviously, we will miss her greatly. And there she is on the live stream camera on your screen. So Tessie, thank you. We all thank you very much. And as I shared earlier, to say that I'm not a little anxious about this would be a lie. But we will figure this out. And again, just a lot of gratitude to Tessie for all of your hard work and all of the initiatives you've taken on. You've certainly exceeded the role of communications director and plugged 1,000 holes for us in various ways. So thank you, and we wish you the very best. Tessie's on, so I don't know if the board members would like to say something, please.
So I would just say that I feel like you've been invaluable at the board, Tessie, and I sing your praises whenever I get the chance to. And, just on a personal level, it's been such a pleasure knowing you. I just really enjoy spending time with you and speaking with you. And I've learned a lot from you and, wish you nothing but the best going forward, truly. And so thank you for everything.
Yeah, Tessie, I'd second what Dr. Schottenstein said. You've just been fantastic to work with and always top notch on everything you do. So we are definitely going to miss you, and they're going to get a star over there. Good luck.
Yeah, Tessie, you provided some great leadership and enthusiasm, and have been such an asset to everybody here. It'd be really missed. One thing that makes me feel good is that as I get older, you will be with the Department of Aging, so that gives me some comfort.
You're a true gem, Tess.
I think it's been a wonderful job.
Awesome.
All the best, Tessie. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tessie. Okay, so as I continue walking through the report, we'll hear a more in-depth fiscal update from Dr. Schottenstein later. We're happy to report that revenue is increasing, and I just received an update from Joe Turek this morning that what I would call our backlog of licensees who have not renewed because they were given the extension due to the pandemic is down to 11,857 licensees as of today. That is still a huge number, but it is much less than the 17,000 that had not renewed last month. So we are definitely making progress. We have a targeted campaign going out with communications to them, and the more direct our communications are, the more we start to see those renewals trickle in. Of course, of that 11,000, some people just won't renew. We have a natural attrition every year, but we're probably down to, probably 9,000 or so, I would say, that need to renew still, and we're making really good progress on that. That's dropped even 2,000, I think, in the last week. So licensees keep renewing. We continue to hold meetings remotely. We're trying to do our very best moving things forward remotely. Internally, next month, this board will be meeting in person. The law that allows you all to meet and vote remotely is expiring as of December 1st. So unless that law is extended, the meeting will be in person. We've arranged for a location at the State Fire Marshal's office. It is a large room that will accommodate you all having your own table and enough space for you. And then we will be streaming that out to the public. So that location will actually it's in Reynoldsburg off of Main Street, and we'll be sending the exact address for that. Parking is relatively easy. So we're grateful to the fire marshal for allowing us that space. I know some of you have probably been to that location before. We'll make sure you have good directions for that. We will plan on having the licensees who are respondents there in person and bring the licensees one at a time. So we did a little bit of a walkthrough of that yesterday. We still have some technology to figure out. We're working on that. This is where we'll be for December. It's not necessarily where we'll be every month going forward. Our current boardroom does not lend itself to enough space to accommodate the 6 feet apart. So we will be at the fire marshal's office, and more information on that to follow. Let's see, licensing. Our license activity continues very well. The staff is continuing to be very productive at home, and we're thrilled with that. The managers are staying engaged with the licensure staff. We are in the process right now of implementing new technology for customer service for the phones. It's called Jabber. Ultimately, what it will allow us to do is to have sort of an auto attendant option. We will still have a live person option as well. So, we don't think that our customer service will take a hit in any way. But we do think it will help licensees get directed quicker to their area that they have questions about. And that auto attendant will be very handy, especially as we continue working from home. We have, in the state's planning efforts, been identified to return to work in phase 4 of the return. And that's as of right now. Those dates may change. But as of now, we've been identified to return to the office environment in March, April timeframe, and with the encouragement to continue teleworking until the end of May. Of course, we're continuing our work to identify those situations where we may be able to shrink our office space and our expenses a little bit and continue some permanent at-home working arrangements for some employees and or some hybrid working arrangements for others. So those discussions are continuing. We're working with the Department of Administrative Services on that, and they've been very willing to engage in those conversations and actually led a facilitated conversation with us last week with CBRE as they're working with all of the state clients to just identify some cost savings as well as just making the space more workable for us. Let's see, and you don't have the great graphics that you normally have with our open and closed complaint report. Stuart Nealis, who normally does those graphics, is out on leave right now. And for the life of us, we spent about a day and a half trying to replicate those graphics, and we just can't. So at some point we said, you'll just have to look at the raw data in our charts, but our complaints remain steady coming in and closing as well. So we are, we're continuing to work on all of the complaint activity. One note on the complaint activity that I think will certainly help in the months going forward. The internal review team on the historical case review. So the effort that the governor asked us to look at the 1,260 licensees that we had closed sexual misconduct complaints on, That internal review should be wrapped up by the end of Thanksgiving week, which will allow us to be fully staffed in all of our other normal complaint type areas. We'll be doing a lot of debriefing on what we learned from that historical case review, as well as, there might be some enforcement activity that carries on past the historical, past that internal review. So we'll have final numbers for you and counts on that at our December meeting. And again, I think our staff has done a great job with that and really taken on a lot of extra work to make that happen. And, if the folks weren't directly working on that team, that means they were supporting those team members and taking on some of those team members' investigations or enforcement activity. So that's, I think people are ready to get back to their real jobs, but certainly have learned a lot along the way. And we look forward to wrapping that up. That is all for my operations report. If anyone has any questions, happy to. Yes, Dr.
Yes. In regards to license registration, renewing licenses, I had one health provider state that because of COVID-19, he was not able to obtain all the CMEs that he normally does, and that in renewing the license, one of the first questions that is asked is, have you completed all of your requirements? And if he answers that no, the process just stops. So I didn't know what the current status was with CME right now with the COVID-19, and if that was truly a problem where if because of the pandemic and physicians weren't able to complete all their CME credit, if that blocks their ability to renew their license.
So I'll have to look into that, Dr. Bechtel, from the system side. I know that we have, the board took action in March. Actually, I think Joe just turned his camera on. He might be able to help answer here. The board suspended enforcement of the CME requirement through March 1st of 2021. Joe, do you have any observations on that?
Yes, you are right, Dr. Bechtel. The system does block renewal if you answer no to that question. And we do get that. We've been helping licensees with that issue who've run into it. We just advise it's okay to answer yes to the question. The board has suspended enforcement of it, and you won't be penalized for answering the question. I want to say incorrectly, but incorrectly in the sense that it wasn't. The requirements weren't completed.
The concern that physician had was that he didn't want to say that he had completed his CME requirements and not tell the truth. And then, right. But if he does tell the truth, then it blocks the process from renewal.
Correct. Yeah. Again, we've had to advise people who wanted to answer the question correctly. They didn't do it. It's okay for them to answer yes and proceed with the application.
Thank you very much.
Montgomery?
Yes, Stephanie, since we no longer have a sexual misconduct committee, did you say, are you doing a complete report next time or in December?
Yes. Yes. So that will be, we'll have our.
And we will know about the physicians who failed to report and what we are doing with them or have done with them.
We will follow the normal enforcement activity that we follow. So you'll know what you'll be allowed to know with various people. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, the only question, the reason I ask that is not that we need to know what happened with individual A, B, and C, but that we had X number of individuals, we have followed number of individuals. That sort of the generic information for us.
Yes, we will have aggregate de-identified data for you on that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I meant fancy words. I'm sorry.
I don't even know where I came up with that. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Schottenstein. Thank you, Stephanie.
I just have a comment, a question.
Yeah.
Please.
So this is regarding CME, and I understand that we have to make some concessions this year, but I'm hoping that, Joe, and you can answer this, Joe, but I'm hoping that when they're telling people to go ahead and answer yes when it's actually no, that they are encouraging these people to complete that CME, to honestly complete the CME. But the other comment I would like to make is that there is a lot of CME offered online, and that really can easily accomplish the hours of CME that are required by this board at this point. So, and most of it is free. So even those people who are counting on attending a meeting and getting 15, 25 hours of their CME, that's possible to do online in a fairly brief period of time. So just a comment. I wish there were a different way of handling it other than telling people it's okay to say yes when you didn't do it. That concerns me because of, is somebody next year going to say, well, they told me I could say yes, so anyway, just a comment.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, we are, the message that's being sent is that the board has suspended enforcement of the CME requirements, not the legal responsibility to complete the CME requirements. And every time I've responded to one of these questions, for sure, I've said that, the board strongly encourages the CME completion. There is a CME available online. However, if the licensee is unable to complete the CME, again, they can answer yes, and no enforcement action will be taken. But definitely the message is being sent that the enforcement has been suspended, not the obligation to complete the continuing education.
Joe, I just sent you a message, but I had a question. Is there a way to for comments to be left by the applicant? So for instance, if they check yes, even though it's false, to document that A, it's not true, and B, that they aren't intentionally deceiving us, but they were instructed to do this. Like, I don't know if there's a comment section at some point that they could explain that at all.
There isn't.
Okay.
Anywhere on that. Not on that part of the application.
Hey, Joe, one last question.
Yeah.
What, in terms of what you're telling people, is that out there on the website? Because if no one talked to you, no one would know that that's an option.
I believe it was, maybe Tessie would know better, on the website, in some of these COVID-19 type resources.
I don't think it's that clear.
I'm not 100% sure. I know there was some, this was when it was first done. I'm trying to think what was put out there.
It's not that clear on the website, Bob. I think we can maybe, especially as we have this push of people renewing toward the end of the year, I think we can clarify that on the website. And I think we maybe can even look at our app to see what we can say. I don't know if we can make that change in the system. That's what I'm guessing. That's why we're stuck, but we can certainly put out something and include that in an email blast as well.
I did find something from 3/18/20 in the COVID-19 part of the website, which does have a PDF of these changes that were made. And but you're right. I mean, it's probably not it's not front and center.
Yeah, it's just going to save you time and effort of answering 100,000 calls. That's all.
May I ask, do you know whether or not we did not have in our continuing legal education stuff was not, we had to go online if we couldn't go to the meetings. I assume what did the pharmacy board do?
Does
anybody know?
I think they delayed it to kind of like the other medical board and some of the other ones did. It was delayed in enforcement. I think it's the same situation, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think that's the situation, Betty.
The CME is statutory. We can decide we're going to delay enforcement, but people still are obligated to do their CME. Dr. Feibel, you have a thought?
Yeah, I am really uncomfortable as a board encouraging people to lie on their application. I think that's a really bad precedent to set. And I think we open ourselves up to a lot of problems if somebody lies on their application in the future. So I think we as a board really need to address this front on and not be cryptic about it. What do we expect our licensees to do? And I would rather the licensees answer no and say, we're going to grant you a license in spite of that. I don't know how to handle this, but this doesn't seem right to me to tell a licensee to lie on their application.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I don't support lying on the application either. But I mean, I'll defer to whatever the operations team wants to do, but I just want my opinion noted.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually thought there was a no option and that it would let you through. I did not know that it was stopping them from going forward until today. So I think we need to look at that from the systems and see what, this is one of the unfortunate side effects of having an enterprise system. We can't make changes that just impact us sometimes. But we will look to see what we can do, either messaging on that site, messaging on our site, or with the application process itself. I don't think we have any answers today, but I think we take the feedback and agree with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other thoughts before we move on? Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. So Ms. Anderson will now discuss rules and policies, please.
Great, thank you. So in your memo, you have 2 rules for adoption, which is it's actually just one rule, but it's a rescission of the old rule and then adoption of a new rule. Respiratory care rule 47619-04. The public hearing was held on September 24th. No comments were received. JCAR jurisdiction ended on October 28th, 2020. The JCAR meeting on the rules was October 19th of 2020, and no comments were received. So the rules are ready for official adoption, and we would recommend that the board adopt them with an effective date of November 30, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a motion? Dr. Saffron, thank you. Second? Was there a second?
Yeah, Dr. Bechtel.
Dr. Bechtel, thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermont?
Yes.
Dr. Saffron?
Yes.
Mr. Giacolone?
Yes.
Dr. Song?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Weibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adopt the proposed 2022 meeting dates for the State Medical Board of Ohio as listed in the agenda materials? Is there a motion? Dr. Saffron, thank you. Thank you so much. We can have a voice vote on this. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. We'll move on now to committee business, please. And I just actually want to take a moment to thank the Sexual Misconduct Committee. I wasn't sure if we were going to have another meeting or not at the last month meeting, but I think it's fair to say now that that committee has sunset. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. My real heartfelt appreciation for all of the hard work that the committee did, and certainly for all of the board members and staff who contributed to the outcome of all of that hard work. And I would also just say that, we're not approaching this in such a way as to say we are now checking off what we've done before and moving on. These are matters that will stay with us, that we'll continue to work on and build on and take into the future. So just, again, my sincere thanks. So the draft minutes for last month's meetings of the Sexual Misconduct Committee, Telehealth Committee, and Executive Director Review Committee have been posted to Onboard for the board members' review. Since those committees are not meeting this month, may I hear a motion to approve the draft minutes of those 3 committees, please? Okay, thank you. So that sounded like Dr. Safran and
Dr. Bechtel.
thank you so much. Voice vote will be fine. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Reardon will now give the Dietetics Advisory Council report.
Thank you, Dr. Schottenstein, members of the board. The Dietetics Advisory Council was held virtually yesterday. There were 6 members present, and the minutes from the August 2020 Advisory Council were approved. There were 3 documents that were given to the members of the council ahead of time for comment, including some FAQs, a fact sheet, and all these eventually, after we work through them with the council, will be housed on the State Medical Board of Ohio website. It was determined that we will save some of those for further discussion later to get those finalized and put on the website. It was also discussed, as we were talking about earlier on this board meeting, that there are 1,437 licensed dietitians that need to renew their licenses before 12/1. We are sending things out to the associations every time that there is an announcement. Joe lets me know weekly how many licensed people that we still have to get renewed, and we send those out to the associations and they get put in their newsletters. A rules update was given that the medical board is getting ready to file 3 amended rules with the Common Sense Initiative Office that have to do with dietetics. Those rules will be posted on our website, and the public comments are due on November 23rd. The next DAC meeting is scheduled to be held on 12/7 at 2 o'clock. And that will be held in person if there are no changes with the legislature in the meantime. And this concludes the update of the November Dietetics Advisory Council meeting.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reardon. So Dr. Feibel now will provide an update from last month's telehealth committee meeting, please.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to report except that, as was reported in the policy committee this morning, that the first meeting of the telehealth, first reading of the telehealth bill was read, and the sponsor of the bill accepted all of our amendments, and so hopefully that'll be incorporated into the bill, and we'll be able to testify on it in the near future. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Feibel. Now, Dr. Sloan will provide an update from the policy committee, please.
Thank you so much. Policy committee met earlier this morning. We approved the minutes, and then we did a rule review update. We discussed the fact that the CME rules released from CSI in late October were filed with JCAR. There's going to be a rules hearing on 12/4. The 3 dietetics rules are ready for CSI. They filed or will be filed this week. Overall, regarding the rule review updates, it seems to be making very good progress. Just another quick update, the 3 rules that we sent for comment period, which were the radiology, the hearing rules, and there was one other, but basically we had no comments on any of those rules, and we'll file those in January. And just looking at rules that are at CSI, the first is the controlled substance rule. And we had a decent discussion about this based on a comment we got from Jennifer Hayhurst from the Ohio State Medical Association, asking for expert engagement for the weight loss rule. The rule is unchanged, and it has been for quite some time. And there's a thought that Ohio may not be up to the current times and standards that might be there. But we're not so sure. So we decided to take a look at this and obtain some advice from experts. So I will be doing that. I've actually already contacted Jennifer Hayhurst during our break, and then we will be engaging some experts and learning more. And this by no means is a guarantee that we're going to change the rule at all. It's just that we're open to learning more. The medical board is very sensitive to the fact that these could be highly abused. And so we want to be very judicious and cautious about moving forward and protecting the public. But at the same time, we're open to learn more to see if we need to adjust things. So that's going to happen. And then next month, we will I'll report back to you with an update on what we learned. We also, that rule at CSI on the personal information systems, there was no comments there. We then went on to discuss the PA consult rules. The initial draft. House Bill 203 allows for PAs to enter consult agreements, and the rules came into to effect. I think the statute becomes effective around December 15th. There's multiple entities working on this, including Board of Pharmacy and Nursing Board are working on rules, et cetera. But these were some draft consult rules that we went over. And you can see some of the language is similar to some other stuff because there was a substitution of PAs and physicians that you can see in the draft rules. There's still some constraints we're trying to work through, asking Board of Pharmacy for some updates, for example, on TDD licensure and stuff. But this is just a first attempt at a draft. The policy committee voted to circulate it to some interested parties like the PAPC committee and some others. Then we did an update on the sexual misconduct draft legislation. This was obviously highly discussed at the Sexual Misconduct Committee, which really went through some granular details. And to Dr. Schottenstein's point, the sexual misconduct, the whole aspect of this and the committee itself is something that the board takes very seriously. It's very important to the board. There was multiple high-level discussions, and there will be to make sure as we move forward with this. But this is a memo that was written just to kind of update and provide information on the draft legislation. It was designed to be a high-level overview to send to some interested parties, to some stakeholders, et cetera. And there was a lot of discussion about this in policy committee. There was one discussion in particular brought up about child pornography, just to make sure that that's been appropriately defined. And then there was some more discussions that Ms. Montgomery had regarding some misdemeanor statuses, et cetera. So even though this is a great memo and it does achieve the goal of being a high-level overview, I just want to stress the fact that regarding sexual misconduct, continues to be a work in progress and something we're taking seriously. We then we went over the telehealth frequently asked questions. There was a draft there. I think, although I'm not sure, do these FAQs have to be approved at the full board? Kim, do you know? I thought I saw that. So
Yes,
I see
they
you saying
do.
this.
They do need to be approved by the full board, please.
Yeah, thank you. So is there a motion to approve the telehealth FAQs?
So moved, Dr. Johnson.
I hear a motion in a second. All in favor? Yep. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. And then we went on to the legislative updates. Of course, as we all know, our bill tracker and legislative update is available in the policy committee minutes section that you guys can see. Very comprehensive report and review. You can see the whole team is working hard at talking to bill sponsors. They're actually meeting with people. For example, Senate Bill 364, the interstate licensure pack. I think the team went to the bill sponsor just last week to discuss some of the issues. And we basically went over several different laws that are pending. The board continues to track those, and you can see in the minutes in the documents that we have there. We had no, one final item. We did have a memo and letter from regarding ODMHAS regarding a proposed rule, but this actual part was more of a FYI for us. Dr. Schottenstein provided some updated information on it, considering that's his area of expertise. So we appreciate that FYI. And that then concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Simon. That was great. Next, I'll provide the Compliance Committee report. So this morning in Compliance Committee, Kelly Long from Ohio PHB joined us. She, you may recall, gave a presentation at the retreat, but didn't really get to finish up. And so essentially, we invited her back to, finish her presentation for us. So, we talked about the different components of the process, where it starts with evaluation, then goes into completing treatment, suspending practice for 30 days, and then, a process to return to work with continuing care, and then finally a monitoring agreement. And Ms. Long took us through some examples of how those things are implemented. We also reviewed the fact that, the one bite The confidentiality inherent in the one bite is really for substance use disorder only. If there are any other infractions that violate board rules or the law, then PHP will notify the board of that. Ms. Long took us through the data going back over a year's worth of information from May of 2019 through May of 2020 in terms of the fact that there were roughly 121 referrals. Most of them were physicians or residents, about 80% of those, but there were also some, massage therapists, respiratory care providers, physician assistants, and such. And so we also reviewed the fact that the PHP continues to provide online monthly training for treatment providers who can sign up at their discretion, but there's also a requirement in the rule that they do so at least quarterly. We reviewed the fact that now that we've made the changes that we did to allow residential care and partial hospitalization as options, that average length of stay of treatment is actually increased now to about 45 days. We also reviewed things that Ms. Long had shared with us in a memo a couple of months ago where, she is, curious about any movement that we can make as a board regarding the transfer of other licensees in other PHPs who might want to take a job in Ohio. We reviewed the fact that, the PHP would still like to be able to share additional data between the medical board and them. And then we talked again about how at the retreat, the definition of a relapse was raised. We talked about slips at the retreat, you may recall. And so I think Ms. Long's thought is maybe we can research that further. And so that essentially concludes my report. Any questions about that? Okay. Thanks very much. If it's okay, then I'll move on to Finance Committee. So looking at our fiscal update for September 2020, revenue was $1,247,421. That's a substantial increase from last month. At one point, as we heard earlier, we had about 17,000 licensees who had taken advantage of the delay of the deadline to December 1st to renew their licenses. And we heard earlier today that number is down below 12,000 now. So that improved revenue is likely a function of license renewals by licensees who had put off their renewals, but now are starting to renew in anticipation of the December 1st deadline. So in that regard, October numbers are also looking very good, with preliminary numbers at $1.4 million in revenue so far, which is at least double the revenue from October 2018. Our cash balance has improved. It's back up over $5 million at $5,079,792. We would encourage our licensees, of course, not to wait until just before the December 1st deadline to renew, because that's actually the renewal date for all of the boards, and the system could become overwhelmed if everyone waits until the last minute. You may see a 0.9% increase year-to-date in expenditures. That is almost all increase in payroll. You may see under the historical case review the total amount spent, including the scanning project and the case reviews. So for fiscal years 20 and 21, the total the medical board has spent on the historical case project totals about $183,786. As the case review has been completed, there may be a few invoices that trickle in going forward, but this is probably representative of our total amount spent on the historical case review. So if these numbers look static going forward, we'll probably stop reporting them on the fiscal summary page. We received $39,500 in disciplinary fines in the month of September. In addition to the $82.17 received from collections, we levied $20,700 in fines. We have received a total of $59,796 in the first quarter of the fiscal year total, which is about on track for what we would expect over the course of the fiscal year. There's no new business. Any questions about Finance Committee? Okay, thanks very much for being patient with me then. Next, Dr. Safran will address the Licensure Committee business, please.
Thank you, Dr. Schottenstein. Today, the board will consider 4 licensure requests. Information on each of the requests have been prepared by the licensure staff and distributed to board members. Does any board member wish to consider any of these applications separately? Hearing not, Do I hear a motion to approve the licensure staff recommendations for the requests of Linda Clem, LD, Kimberly Overmeyer, MT, Teresa Paul, LD, and Corey Pierce, MT?
Dr. Bechtel.
So moved.
But Dr. Rothermel moved and Dr. Bechtel seconded. We need to do a voice, or we have to do an individual vote. So Dr. Rothermel?
Yes.
Myself, Dr. Safran, yes. Mr. Jackalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soin?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Miss Montgomery? Betty?
Ms. Montgomery does not appear to be on the meeting at this time.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
Dr. Schottenstein?
Yes.
Thank you. This concludes the licensure committee business for November.
Thank you so much, Dr. Safran. Next on the agenda, please turn to the compliance section. Do I hear a motion to approve the compliance staff's reports of conferences for October 15th, 2020?
Move Jack
Motion,
Malone.
please.
Move Jack Malone.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you kindly, sir. Is there a second? We need a second, please.
Oh, second.
Second.
Thank you very kindly. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Safran?
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soin?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Abstain.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you. At this time, we will consider the probationary requests in today's agenda that have been prepared by the Standards Review and Compliance staff and distributed to board members. Before asking for a motion, does any board member wish to consider a probationary request separately? Okay, hearing that, do I hear a motion to approve the secretary and supervising members' recommendations for the probationary requests? Motion, please.
Move Jack Malone.
Thank you. Second.
Second, Soin.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Safran?
Abstain.
Mr. Jackalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soin?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Abstain.
And myself, Dr. Schottenstein, yes. That concludes the November 10th, 2020 meeting of the State Medical Board of Ohio. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Dr. Safran and Dr. Johnson,
make
thank
one
you.
comment,
All in favor, voice vote.
Can I make one
Please.
comment, please?
Of course.
I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving to themselves and their family, and hope that we have a good holiday season.
Thank you so much, Dr. Safran, and to you and all as well. Thank you. And thank you so much for everybody's patience today with the technical glitches. All in favor of adjourning, voice vote, aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the time is 1:02 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you next month.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Thank you.
you.